You are listening to Something Rather Than Nothing. Creator and host, Ken Vellante. Editor and producer, Peter Bauer.
I want to say, too, that no matter how corrupt our government and corporations and Wall Street and news media may yet become, the music will still be perfectly wonderful.
Hey everyone, this is Ken Vellante with the Something Rather Than Nothing podcast. And you don't know this, but this episode is long in the making with Salo Panto. We got Joe from Salo Panto. Welcome to the show, Joe.
Happy to be here, Ken. Happy to be here. Stoked. It is a long time coming. It's cool.
It is very nice to have you on the microphone. And I've been digging on your music for a while in the Oregon music scene here. Haven't seen you live yet. Been digging on the newer release, Parallel Narratives, and tell us. Can you just launch in and tell us a bit about the band, the sound project, and what you're up to?
Sure. So for quite some years now, I've been writing songs, I guess you could say, with some close friends from Ohio. Several of us went to college together, and we played music in college together. And Youngstown, Ohio, is a great place in a lot of ways, but especially in 2014, it was no Portland, Oregon, and so I guess our particular group of friends had a little bit of a there was there's kind of a gathering of familiar people that we already knew out here, and I had some family out here. Excuse me. I already had some family, so I came out to check it out, investigated it, liked it. Sole purpose of moving was to inevitably start a band, and that was clear with especially Max, who is the bass player in our band. We went to college together, went to music school together, and so we just kind of wanted to go somewhere and start something where. One of my big impressions of Portland when I first came here was that when I would go out and we'd go to whatever bars or clubs or whatever, and there'd be so many different types, there'd be so many different demographics, you could say, of people at a particular place, like mixing it up together. And I thought
Yeah,
that was
yeah, yeah.
really cool. And I'm sure that's just me not going to New York City enough or bigger cities where that's totally just a normal thing. But where I was from, and it wasn't Youngstown, Ohio is not a uh, small town. It's more like a small city. It wasn't necessarily like that. So I thought that was really cool. I thought, well, this feels right. This is probably like a nice place to come and then start experimenting with noise. The earliest formation of the band was me. I was kind of like live looping drums off of a synthesizer, and then adding stuff to it with bass and whatnot. And then Ed, who now is like the tambourine and keyboard player in our band, he just had a sampler, and he would just kind of more or less like, I don't know, make whatever kind of random noise he could. We'd dialogue from movies or whatever, and then it just grew, and then people started moving out here, and then uh, our drummer Dave saw us at a show when we didn't have a drummer. Well, we had a four-piece band, no drums, and we had looped all the electronic drums. And afterwards, he was just like, we worked together. We worked at the same restaurant, and afterwards, he was just like, "Hey guys, I play drums." And so basically, the rest is history. That was probably like 2016, and so we've basically had the same core unit since then.
Oh, that's so great. And the drums, hey, just saying, hey, not that you need me, but I could play the drums and I'm nearby.
That's
So,
that's almost exactly what it was like too. Yeah.
so Joe, tell me about we dig into art and philosophy on the show. Tell me about just yourself as far as creativity and say music. Was there a point in your development where you're like, I'm gonna play music, or I'm gonna be an artist? Was there identifiable point for you, or you always kind of felt like that?
There's definitely some kind of identifiable point. It's kind of gray, or in a sense, because and I know this is true for Max in the band also. We grew up playing classical music in school, and for a long time, it wasn't necessarily something that I wanted to do. It was something that my parents were kind of not necessarily forcing me to do. I'm sure I was getting like, I don't know, they're buying me whatever. Maybe I got a video game for staying in orchestra through seventh or eighth grade, but it was like that. We started in fifth grade in my school district. It was really, in hindsight, it's so thankful that it was a thing and that my parents made me stick with it. But it was like that. It was more pedantic and it was more of a chore. A lot of times, literally, it was a chore. I had to play violin for 20 minutes a day before I could do anything. And at the time, that was just
Yeah.
so. At the time, that was so unbearable. But and then when I got into college, so I played through 12th grade, and that was violin. I was playing violin in an orchestra through 12th grade, and then in college, the first year of college, I did not uh, play music in school at all. I had already started playing guitar, and I was really invested in it, and I really liked doing it. But once I heard that my college had a music recording like production program that you could major in, it's kind of a game changer. So I thought, well, that's it. I can read music. I've been doing that for a decade at that point, basically, and it just worked out that way. So I guess flash forward to after music school and having this completely new interest in playing music. I would say it still took a little because it was something I enjoyed so much and I had so much fun doing. There was a part of me that was a little hesitant to call myself an artist because I don't know. It's a harder thing to explain, I guess, because there was a lot of hanging out with friends and just doing it and gigging and getting shows and just kind of like seeing where it was going and I guess none of us wanted to take ourselves too serious, and that if we acted like people who considered themselves artists playing like jazz rock fusion stuff, then we didn't want to seem outside of our league. But I don't know. The older I get, the more I understand how it is what it is. Like you are doing this thing that is essentially art. It's artistic at the very least, and yeah, I have much easier time grasping that now. But just growing up with it, it was always just such a different thing. And then it turned into this thing that I realized I was kind of set up for or unknowingly doing.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, Joe, I have a question. I mean, in playing with the other band members for some time in your time out out there in Ohio, and plus the training, the background training, that you
Yeah.
have. I find it. I mean, I can hear it in the music that there's this. Uh, that there's this depth to it, or the development between the albums. I feel that Parallel Narratives, your newest one, has this more distinct kind of mellow, I don't know if mellow is the word, but vibe to it. Uh, tell me about playing overtime in that training, and from your perspective, how that comes out through the music. I can hear it. I'm not describing it well though.
Hmm. Well, I would say like when you start, it's more like there's definitely more of a I'm doing this. It's going to be what I want, but also it has to appeal to other people besides you. So that's a really huge pool to pull from. And if you like a lot of different types of music, you can kind of just say, well, okay, I like this artist and and I really like this wildly different artist. And maybe people can find some kind of common ground in what I'm doing. And so I think that just kind of has been that's always kind of been or at least a personal goal of mine is to keep it keep it coming from different angles. And we definitely like we're not oblivious to the fact that we are a rock band, but within those, I don't know, parameters, like how can you spin that? And our yeah, I just think that we it's just so the songs, it's the ones that we're 100% sure about stick with us and we play and record. There's just been so many other times where it's like, yes, this is a song. It's fine. It's got a beginning and an end. We don't hate it, but there's something about following through with something that you're really, really convicted about and more passionate. And I think that, I think that comes from just like drawing from different avenues, keeping yourself surprised. I think
Yeah,
that's really cool too. So
as
yeah,
as the creator, yeah,
yeah, and just you talk about bands who like no two songs sound the same. I'm sure they were doing the same thing. I'm not saying ours don't. I tell you several that do sound the same or like one another, but yeah, I think that's the same kind of thing. Just keeping it almost to like keep surprising yourself with what you're doing.
yeah.
Like, oh,
Well, in terms of uh, art, one of the questions I ask is what is art? And I heard in your description of kind of like coming to terms with seeing yourself as an artist seemed like a huge step. But what do you think art is? The general question: what is art?
lately I've been thinking, or I've been throwing around like when I am completely distracted from like the more mundane or even maybe say dark realities of actually being alive. When you have those moments where you kind of like come back to reality, and for that, you might not even be listening to a song. You could be thinking about something, or watching a movie. It doesn't matter. But like the distraction from reality is almost, I think, artistic, and
Yeah,
the intentional things like music and film and paintings. Like that's just the showcase of it. You're giving it that time, and I think that's like entertainment. Well, I just heard. So I'm gonna. Of course, I'm gonna get this wrong. I'm not gonna look. I don't feel like looking it up. It was like entertainment in art, and like the Venn diagram that they have. But like on one side is I forget which one was. It's like entertainment uh, distracted you from reality, and art like maybe presented you with an entire new one in its own. And
gotcha. Yeah,
I
yeah,
might.
yeah.
I wish I should have done I should have done a little homework.
No, I'd say on the distraction bit. I heard that word early on. It's actually a word I don't encounter as much in asking this question.
Uh-huh.
Tantalized by that because it is something like the distraction from the reality as is, or the art in and of itself being
Uh-huh.
the presentation of a different reality, right?
Right.
It's
Yeah.
either immersion in or a distraction from.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think that's exactly what I heard before, but that's yeah, definitely think about the roundabout, through the filter of my head. That's I kind of can identify with that for sure. And I it really helps to collaborate with people who like a you hear about like record producers, and some of those people do a really invaluable thing, like to for someone to trust what you're doing enough to like kind of like pick up, not maybe like a rein, or just be willing to walk with you through it and still like very much like let it be your own thing. Like Cam Spees, really, he did a lot uh, for the recording for the new record. He did our last two records. Excuse me. He produced our last two records, and I was talking to him and someone the other day. He's great at the technical side of things. Um, very good at letting you feel comfortable in this high stressful environment. And I think that's kind of maybe one of the more underappreciated things of a good producer or whoever. You're 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 there, and you're really trying to capture this thing, this idea that you want. Like you've got so much riding on it. Almost the least of which are finances, but that's obviously very important. You're still there, and you still have this shot. Like it's good,
Yeah,
and it's a really nerve wracking thing. Um, and some people, some people are just so good at. There's something to recording music live. Some people are just so good at it. It's it's something you have to be comfortable doing, and I think he did a great job of helping with that. I think he understands that's part of a producer's role, which might not really get the kind of praise or credit that it normally deserves.
When you listen, when somebody's going to go to one of your live shows, it's one of the things I like to get into with the live performance. Is Salo Panto. Uh, what uh, what differences? What differences they get? What's the live experience like?
That's a cool question. Our live experience started. Our first show was really funny and kind of I don't know, maybe not serendipitous. It's a small town. We like played with several of the other bands later on. We played in a basement. It's a funny story. We played in a basement on like Holgate and 70th down in the southeast, and this is before our who now plays tambourine. This is before Ed, the tambourine keyboard, some vocals guy. He only played sampler at the time. He didn't have anything else really going on. We didn't really have anything else for him to do, but we had him playing like again like movie dialogue or whatever, and so show's about to start. We're opening. His sampler goes out, and so he's got he's got nothing else on stage. It's I should say he's got nothing else in the corner of this basement that we're playing in. And so we go through it, and everyone's coming up to him afterwards, like, "Hey, dude, that was great." He totally sold it. But the thing we were doing that he really helped with having the sampler was that we would do like 45 minutes. We would like introduce ourselves, and then we would do about 45 minutes straight through one song into the next. And at the end of it, we would thank people and whatnot. And to a degree, we still try to do that. There aren't a lot of stops. I don't I don't hate talking, but we try to. I certainly don't hate talking, but we try to just limit it and say what's required, and some things are, and then yeah, I'd say we'll do like blocks of some. We did one recently of like 4 songs in a row. We'll start play 4 songs straight through, and then say a little something, then play like another 15 or 20 minutes, and a lot of times after that we'll play one more song, and that'll be the end of it. But there are things we do live that aren't on any records. There's like extended formats and stuff, and we're huge fans of live music in general. Always trying to catch it, and so yeah, it's almost like going to see one of your favorite bands, or going to see some of our favorite bands, like doing homework.
Yeah.
What are these guys up to this time? And I remember, like, I got around to Yola Tango finally, and I finally I was into them, and it just never happened. I don't know. I always enjoyed like what I heard, and when that finally clicked for me, like the next time they came to Portland, they played 2 nights at the Wonder Ballroom. I went to both, and was just blown away. It was so much fun. One thing they did though, they're so great. They ended both. I guess they end their shows with covers almost always, and we love covers, and we have several that we had kind of like put in and out. Whatever we rotate them out. There's several. I guess Yola Tango does the same thing, of course. However many we have, they have like 200 more, I'm sure, because they're just incredible. But yeah, we love covers, and I love when a band, in particular, I don't know why, but I love when a band ends with a cover. Flaming Lips do it a lot. I guess they don't end with covers. I don't know, but yeah.
But having a lot of covers from a band like Flamin' Lips is most enjoyable. Hey, Joe, I wanted to ask you one of the big questions of the show, and then ask a little bit more about a couple songs. But big question of the show, no good time to ask it. Why is there something rather than nothing?
Nothing just doesn't sound appealing at all. Like darkness is just so, or I don't know. I don't know if I'm getting too. I don't know if there is a point to that question or answer, but I think it's a lot. I think it's a lot easier for some people to create than others, and I think the people who I know them personally. I think that the people who struggle to express the things that are inside of them from either one way or another. There's anxiety about how people are going to feel. They're afraid to face rejection of their poem, song, movie, painting, whatever. They just can't. They can't bring themselves to lift the pen or anything. And I think those same people are some of the biggest appreciators and fans of all of the formats that I'm talking about, and also they often some of the people I'm thinking of in particular have some of like my favorite tastes, and they're I really take what they when the right friend who's like a genius in their own right calls me and says that, hey, this show is really good, I think you'd really like it. I'm just kind of sticking with it, and a lot of times I struggle as a creator. Sometimes I just get overwhelmed with all of it, and I wait for the people who I trust to kind of filter it out. It just always seems to happen like that. Whenever enough people tell me about, and it's always like the right show, I always get into it. I'm like, oh yeah, like that was great. So I guess what I'm saying is, it's what's the word? Symbiotic sort of relationship between the audience and whatever the audience is and the people that make it. Like everyone 100% needs each other, So I don't know. I think that's why.
Not the easiest question, but let me jump over to Salo Panto again. For the listeners, where do you find Salo Panto? I know there's a nice Bandcamp page, definitely a page I recommend overall, and can see the new music and your catalog there. But tell us where to find your stuff.
We're all over Instagram and YouTube. I think there's still a salopanto.com, but it's like an overgrown, I guess it'd be an overgrown front yard. It needs a lot of work. The weeds have grown, and there's just nothing recent on it. It's just older pictures of us, members in the band who had to move away or whatever and stuff like that. But yeah, Bandcamp and Instagram and YouTube are the big ones for sure.
Great. Hey, can you tell us about the track "So Little Earth"?
Yeah, "So Little Earth" is the only song of its kind on our record. Obviously, we always kind of imagined it some kind of Talking Heads Remain in Light, idea, but we all got to, so we all it's a song I did something like it a couple years ago, and we didn't need one more song, one more song for the album, but what we had we had this group of songs that all really worked together, and then we had these couple like much heavier rockin' songs that were a little their own thing. And so what we're doing is we're releasing an EP in December. And so we kind of let those songs be their own thing, and we'll put them out later. And so we needed one more, and instead of just like trying to write a song, we took this one that I had done years ago, and we all just kind of took our time. I say me, the drummer and the bass player specifically. We just kind of sat with a click and listened to the song or the groove as it were, and this is where the Remain in Light thing comes into play. We kind of just chopped it up, chopped pieces up, and looped what we wanted, and kind of have free reign with a lot of like the noises that we were coming up with, and so yeah, it was just cool the way that song came to be. There's there's the click track is in the song. It starts the song. We just played to those drums for several minutes, and then through the architectural nature of Camp Space, who recorded the album, we came up with that. But it's fun, and yeah, it's gonna be really fun to play live when you get around to it. I don't think we'll be playing it on Halloween, but yeah, it's one of my favorites for sure. How it came out.
Wonderful. I love that one. We're talking with Joe. What about parallel narratives?
Yeah, so Parallel Narratives, the title track of the album, that was a COVID song, and the idea was with the lockdown and everything. It was like I felt like everyone was kind of granted. There's always going to be the super elite that have no real claim in the real world, but like for the most part, no one could get into a movie theater, no one could get to a rock concert, no one could go into a museum. Like there were all these things that you can't really bypass by threat of probably some kind of legal course. But yeah, for everyone to kind of just be on that same wave and path, and for really the first time for maybe I feel like my parents didn't know anything more about this than I did, and no one else's did either. So everyone was kind of just in this same boat together, and yeah, it was in hindsight a very inspiring time. It was the only time I can remember. Like, okay, well, the next 2 months are kind of unspoken for. I better lock myself in a room and play as much guitar as I can while I have this time, or it was like finally getting to focus solely on art as opposed to like bills or having a job or doing things like that. So it was awful for a lot of people. That's terrible. But I found in it a little bit of a, I don't know, benefit, but I don't know, time to practice and not worry about working. That was nice, But again, I didn't realize it was a pandemic, so there's that.
Well, there's also the individualized the
Yeah,
experience of the pandemic, particularly for artists, go and
right,
interviewing artists through that time and just seeing it was so varied, like the experience as significant as it was. And, for different type of artists had different meaning, regarding the impacts, most definitely.
yeah, yeah. I remember, yeah, it was kind of I mean, it's very shocking. The reality didn't just hit at once over the course of those first few weeks. It was just like, wow, this is what it is, and I'm going to try to take advantage of it, try to make the most of this time that I can. Genuinely, yeah, I remember thinking that pretty good and not start drinking beer before 5 or 6 if I could help it.
Right.
Which I remember we did a really good job. Me and my roommates were good. We were genuinely pretty good about it. It's a good time. The bubbles, everyone's bubble. A lot of disinfectant.
Oh my goodness. Joe, I can't believe we did this. We actually got the episode.
Hell yeah.
This is Something Rather Than Nothing.